All right. Whatever it is, I promise. Once we get going, I will check my email. Okay. It usually takes a while to get going. All right. Once you have this alias, the server connected. If you haven't done it, do this right now. Right-click on it and choose Make Alias. Right-click on it and choose Make Alias. Okay. What that's going to happen is that you wind up with two, but one of them has this little shortcut. Okay. That's going to stay permanently on your desktop. And next time, after you restart your computer and you get on this some other day, right? All you're going to have to do is double click on this one. It'll take you to the same spot. Now this is for all my periods. There's second period, fourth period, and first period. We're obviously second period. So go to 2 Digicom. And you're going to open that up. You can either double click it or you can use a triangle. And the folder I want you to go to is I want you to go to graphics, go to pickup. Go up here to where it says Digicom pickup. That's underneath 2 Digicom. And in that folder, there's a folder called Graphics Practice. Graphics Practice. Graphics Practice. Take that entire folder, drag it onto your desktop. Once again, you go to your server, you go to 2_digicomviz, and then you're going to go to digicomviz pickup. Pickup. And you're going to take that graphics folder and you're going to drop it onto your desktop. There's one folder called Graphics Practice. There's a lot of files. Grab the whole folder. Neighbors help neighbors. Okay, when you get to this screen, go ahead and hit Create New. Or if you already did that, go to File New. Go to File New, and it's going to prompt you for a second. And I want you to go to a very specific spot. So you hit File, New. I'll close this for a second. File, New. And I want you to pick a very specific thing. So I want you to go to Film and Video over here on the right. Film and Video over here on the right. And I want you to choose HD. It'll take a second. And I want you to choose this one, HD TV. So we stream in high definition, record in high definition. And if you want to be in film or video or just start working in media, you're going to need to start memorizing that number, 1920 by 1080. That is the aspect ratio for high definition television. That's the standard high definition. So that means that it's 1,080 pixels tall and 19,000 pixels wide. So when you see 1080, when you hear that word 1080, oh, my television is in 1080, that's how tall and how many pixels are in that height. 720, that's still considered HD, but it's lesser HD. Yeah. All right. So you did File New. File New. Boom. Yeah, and then there's so what's 4K? 4K is technically 1,080 times 4. Someone do the math there real quick. What's 80 times 4? 160. 160 times 2 again is what? 2 what? 320. So it's actually 4K is actually 4,000. 320. I bet lots of teachers are freaking out. I bet teachers are calling me and being like, yeah. Because they don't pay attention at the staff meeting.
Exactly.
They've gone over all of this with us every single time.
So you know that someone during the lockdown they said just stay sheltered in place, then you brought this out.
Yeah. Because they said shelter in place. Because I pay attention. There's nothing out there. All right. Yeah. Thank you. All right. All right. Why do we do it like this? Because this now matches our video screen. This is now the same aspect ratio of our video screen, okay? And this also does a few other things here. Do you guys see these lines? These are called safe zones. So even though the standard is 1080, every video player is a little different. The TriCaster video player is a little different than the actual YouTube player. And you can actually see the difference. So everyone pay attention because this is going to be important. You're going to get marked down in your grades later, right? So this outer line is kind of considered, if you're playing base, I know I do a lot of baseball metaphors. I'm not even the biggest baseball fan, but baseball has great analogies. So this is the home run fence. This is the out of bounds, okay? And then this is the warning track. The inner line is the warning track. So basically this is out of bounds. This line here is out of bounds. This is the warning. Right? So ideally, you want to, good question, Afu, you want to make sure, ideally, all your text and all your important and vital information is within this second line, okay? That'll guarantee it's going to show up and show up nicely. If you have to push it, you can go into this warning track, right? If you go beyond this line, you're in danger of that text getting cut off somewhere on some players. It might show up fine on your computer screen, but then it might get cut off on YouTube. Or it might get cut off on a different TV. Every TV and every brand and every single type of player has a slightly different cutoff ratio for this thing. So this is kind of, it's a guarantee, this is like your guaranteed spot. It was more of a trouble, just to give you a little history lesson, back in the day when you had a cathode ray tube. Does anyone have a cathode ray tube at home anymore? The non-flat screens. If you actually look at them, they're bulbous. They're actually warped. And this was actually more important because if you got it within this warning track, it would actually skew and it would really warp your text and make it look weird. So this used to be a lot more important back in the day with cathode ray, but it's still kind of important because every player, every screen is slightly different, right? So first thing to keep in mind. All right. Now that everyone's got a background, we're all good. Check your neighbor. Neighbor's all good. All right. Now, Adrian, do you mind if we show your face? Sure. Good, thanks for volunteering. Because I already did it. Go to your graphics practice folder and please grab this shot, the sample shot. Please grab sample shot and drag it into your screen. So in your graphics practice folder, take this. It was the best sell. I went through a lot of frames. You know, I was trying to get one where you were not like open mouth or anything. That was the best one I could find quickly. Just so you know, right? That didn't have a graphic up already. All right, and he's a little bit smaller. The picture's a little bit smaller. So once you drag it in there, you might need to make it a little bit bigger. And this is just so we kind of have a reference for where we want to put our graphics. So the whole reason why I'm putting him in there. So all you're going to do is you take this picture, you literally just drag and drop it. So you drag it in the thing, it hits plus sign. You get this wireframe. This wireframe lets you kind of adjust it to make it a little bit bigger or smaller. I say make it a little bit bigger, right? Just kind of get it just right. And then go ahead and hit enter. And the only reason why we're doing this is so that it's a reference. It's a reference. Huh? No. Make it go the whole thing. Sorry. But these lines are going to be for our text. Good question. Yeah, don't make it look like this. That's what you're asking. Hold on. Don't do... One more time. Don't do that. Don't do that. Right? Keep it... Oops. Let's do this. There. Well, do it like that. Because I demonstrated it twice. There. Okay. First thing I want to tell you with Photoshop, you might know, what's the command to undo? Command Z. In Premiere and everywhere else, it's Command Z. And if you want to undo even more, you just keep hitting Command Z. Not in Photoshop. I think it's Option Command Z. Photoshop. Let me double check. Now you have me doubting myself. Thing. Okay. Yeah. All right. Photoshop considers undo a move. So if you undo and then you undo again, you're undoing the undo. Did I just blow your mind?
No.
So Photoshop considers undo a move. So if you undo twice, you're undoing your undoing. So you can only hit Command Z once, and it only goes back one step. Well, that's stupid. How do I go back more? You have to hold down the Alt-Option key. So the Alt-Option key is right next to the command. So you have to hit the Command key. The Command key looks like that. You have to hold the Alt-Option key. The Alt-Option key looks like that. Or it's right next to it. So you have to hold down 2 keys plus Z. And then that will undo multiple times. I know, it's dumb. I didn't make the program. They should fix it. Because in Premiere, I used to say it was an Adobe thing. But in Premiere, it's just Command Z. You don't have to do the Alt Command Z. Stupid. So Photoshop considers undo a move. So you undo the undo if you hit Command Z twice. I just like to say that. It seems like you're stoned, right? You undo and undo, man. Comes back. That's why you have to do Alt Command Z or Option Command Z. All right, perfect. All right, let's make some boxes. So in graphics, you might have noticed we have kind of 2 boxes. We have, let me show you an example. This is a template you're going to play with later. We have one box. This box is called the lower third. This top box is called the picture-in-picture, or the PIP, right? So you might hear me call it a PIP every once in a while, PIP, picture-in-picture, and this is always called the lower third box. So let's make some boxes. So, actually, before we make some boxes, let's do one more thing. Back in your graphics folder, back in your graphics practice folder, I also want you to find the file that says, I want you to find this file, the official MA Today color palette. It's in the graphics folder, and it's called official MA Today color palette. If you hit the space bar, that gives you a nice little preview. Throw that into Photoshop as well. It's okay if it's over Adrian. If it's below Adrian, that's fine. I'm going to talk about layers in a second. Okay? The reason why, okay, just drag and drop it in. The reason why I give you this is so that we all have the same gold and we all have the same maroon. Okay. Hit enter in Photoshop, and that'll get, no, in Photoshop, and then drag it in. It might also be in, it might be underneath. You might also have it underneath Adrian, and we'll talk about layers in a second. When I say enter, I mean return. They change the wording on their keyboard. Okay. When you were in a typewriter and you hit return, the glider would return to its start position. So that's why enter is return. All these little historical facts of technology you're learning today. All right. What this is going to help us with is going to give us all a consistent look, and it's just easier to do this rather than give you a hex code. So this is always going to be on the share drive. I have this thing in several places. So like if you want to use a gray, use these grays. But this is kind of our color palette. So I give you like a neutral beige if you want to have something different. I give you our 3 gray tones. I give you a black, and then the white is right there. And then this is our maroon and gold. So here's what I want you to do. Photoshop likes to give you a kind of a color palette already. So it's right here. So if you click on black, you see where I'm looking at right here? If you click on one of those boxes, it gives you like a color picker. Don't even bother going in here. Just drag over the maroon and click on the maroon and hit OK. That should change this box. The other box you're going to want to be gold. So if you click on this little box, and again, don't even bother with this station. Just hover over the yellow and click the yellow and then hit OK. So now you got your maroon and gold right here. You got your maroon and gold right there. Now, Photoshop has a bunch of layers. Look over here. So I know I'm going slow. Some of you are like, oh, I got all this, right? But there's some people that have never touched Photoshop, so there's a lot to kind of go over with all the basics. Over here on the right, it's similar to tracks in Premiere. So remember in Premiere, we had our base track, and then A2 or V2, excuse me, that's where we put like the text, and then like maybe V3, that's where we put like another video or something. So over here on the right, there's layers, and those are similar to tracks. You see how you have these eyeballs? These eyeballs hide them. They don't delete it, it hides it. So once you get your colors here, go ahead and hit your eyeball and hide that color layer. We might come back to it. I also hid the background. Even though we can't really see it yet. Right? I just unchecked this white background. We'll play with that later. All right. Now we're ready to make a box. Okay. Find over here, this left-hand column, this is kind of your tool palette. Okay, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. We're going to learn about a third of this. So look right here. You should have, it should be a box. Is it a box for you guys? It's a rectangle? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead and hide it. Eyeball. What? That's set up for my computer. Click on that box.
Just the rectangle? You don't want us to switch the...
No, it'll be a rectangle. Yeah. We're going to make a rectangle. Again, look, when I click, I was on my selection tool. If I click on my rectangle, the top up here actually changes. Do you guys see that? So this up here in this upper row, these are the options for whatever tool. Later we're going to do some text. Notice how it changed again, right? So with my box, it already gave me the default fill. It gave me the default fill, which was my primary color I selected here. So it's going to be that color. Stroke, just like in Premiere, is Adobe's word for outline. So what we want to do, just for funsies, because we're experimenting, we want to give it a yellow outline. So I'm going to hit stroke, and I'm going to choose a color. So once again, it gives me all these, there's the color I last used, that's the maroon. Or I can go down here and pick a color, or I can go to the color picker, and then I could, again, activate my layer and choose that color. There's a lot of different ways. So now I'm making a maroon box with a yellow stroke, or a gold stroke. Okay? Now, it's set to 1 pixel. I can make that 3 pixels, 4 pixels, however many pixels. I can type in the number if I want. 12 pixels. You can do whatever you want. We're learning. We're having fun here. 150 is going to be really big. Yeah, keep it under 20, let's say. And then you could change the style. So seems like, well, you'll be released for brunch. That's what that meant. And if you've got to go, we'll call for an escort, and you got to wait for an escort. All right. So you got the 10-minute passing period, whatever it is. So you could make it dashed or dotted. You can apply a different style. I'm going to do it just to kind of have it that way. And now, so those are the options: color, outline, thickness of the outline, and then style of the outline. And then I still have this little crosshair. I can draw a box. And we're going to make a lower third box. Something about like that. Now notice I went into the warning line because my text is going to stay outside the warning line. Right? So that's my little lower third box. Something like that. Did you miss it? I'm going to do it again. So once again, I click on this rectangle here, right over here. I change my settings, my color, my stroke, which is my outline, my thickness of my outline, the style of my outline. And then I'm still in that mode. I'm just going to make a left click right about here, draw a box right about here, and it gives me a box. If I want to change it, these corners are active. Oops, no, they're not. I'm going to hit enter when I'm done. If I want to change it, this one you're going to have to remember. Command T. Command T stands for transform. Transform means to change, right? Like Transformers, like change from a car to a robot, right? Yeah. So Command T, transform, lets you kind of, so if I wanted to make this smaller, if I wanted to adjust it after I made it, I would hit Command T, and then when you're done, you have to hit enter. And so that's the thing that some people got messed up on, and I didn't explain well at the beginning, was when you're dragging pictures in, you hit enter when you're done. So like you couldn't drag in the other picture because you hadn't hit enter yet. And I keep saying enter, and I mean to say return. Return or enter.
Why do you have to hit return?
Because it has that so Command T, I'm transforming it. Return says I'm done. I'm done transforming it. Good questions. Good questions. Let's make one other shape. You could make another rectangle, but let's make another picture-in-picture. Do you want to make something different? You want to make a rounded edge rectangle? Do you want to make an ellipse? You can do a polygon if you want. Experiment. I'm going to do rounded edge. I'm going to do the same style. Actually, I'm going to invert it. I'm going to switch it. I'm going to make my fill yellow, and I'm going to make my, oops, undo. Cancel. There you go. Yeah, I got to draw it first. So I'm going to do a rounded curve. Actually, I'll do a circle. Why not? I'll do an ellipse. Ellipse is anything that's not a circle, but it's still round. So there's my circle. That's my picture-in-picture. And if I wanted to change it, I'm going to make the fill gold, and I'll do my outline maroon. You can do whatever shape you want. We're just learning. Later, we're going to make it nice and neater. Okay. Eyes up on my screen again. You might not have made a circle or square shape bigger or overlapping the other box, but I did to kind of show you a point. So right now, my circle, or my oval, is larger and overlapping my lower third box, okay? But that's okay. But what I might want to do is look over here. The order in which these layers are on the right-hand side is important. So if it's on top here, it's on top visually here. So what actually might look cool is if I take my lower third box and put it on top. You guys see what happened? Yeah. So now the box is kind of cutting off that thing, and now it makes it look like it's kind of embedded in the graphic. Yeah. Okay. Let me check one thing here. Do you want to write about me or Mr. Amoroso? Yeah, me, Mr. Amoroso, or Miss Kennel? Who do you want to make a headline about? You. Me? Okay. All right, so we're going to do a headline. All right, so now let's add some text. So now click on the T tool right here. Do you guys see T? Click on the T tool. Now notice I click on the T, it gives me a new set of options up here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my font. We'll talk a little bit more about fonts later. But if I click down here, I have a whole bank of fonts to choose from. Find one that you want to use. So I'm going to use Arial. I like Futura. Do you guys have a favorite font?
Georgia.
Georgia? I like Futura. Everyone's got different ones, so I'm going to choose Futura every different font type has a different, like some have bold, some don't have bold. Some have italics, some don't have italics. Just kind of pick your font. Just let it stay at a default size right now. And then double check that your font is going to be the opposite color of here. So it is going to type gold, and I'm typing here. So that's good. So every font has a different set. So some have bold, some don't. Mine has a medium. Mine has a lot of options. It has a italic, bold, and then condensed. Right? So now, down here, remember we're going to do, Adrian here is doing some sort of announcement about Mr. Gianbruno. So I'm gonna click down here. I'm still on my text tool, and it's going to give me a little cursor, and I'm going to type Mr. G, and it's really, really, really small. Mr. G has a bad case of pneumonia? Yeah. Of flu. That's not spelled pneumonia. It's really, 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 really small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it, and up here where it says how big I want it to be, I can choose a larger font, right? If it's still small, oops, and I forgot a space. If I double click on it or I go back to my T, I click here, I can kind of change it. I could also, instead of doing, I can also just hit Command, once I'm done typing, everyone just kind of look, Command T. I can actually just kind of raise, oh, what happened? Oh, it did move, thank you. Up top. So I'll show you one second. So I can also use Command T and kind of resize my letters. So up here, Command T. Not Command T, regular T, or the T button. Just like in Premiere. Remember Premiere's text button looks exactly like that one. Right? And then I can select it. If I wanted to, I'm like, that doesn't look too hot. I'm going to go choose something different. Right? Maybe Arial black. It's a little bolder. Something like that. Usually in the lower third box, you want to give enough room for like 2 lines worth of text. Something like that. If you write whatever else, Mr. G has no blah, 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 or whatever. All right. Let's do one more thing today, and then we'll wrap it up. One more thing. Last thing. Under graphics practice, find that picture of me right here. I'll be right there. I'll float around in a second. Or do I hit enter and just find this picture? Just skip this part. Go to this part. Find the picture called download. It's this picture of me, Mr. G, and drag it in. It's called download. And notice, so once again, the picture under the graphics folder is called download. Drag it in, just like that. And notice, when you drag it in, it has that little wireframe. This wireframe it says, hey, you put a photo in here. I'm sure you want to move it around and make it work. So now that it has that wireframe, I can drag it and move it to where I want. If I want to make it bigger. If I want to lock the aspect ratio, you see how I can make myself skinny or fat? I can hold the shift button and it locks the aspect ratio to kind of preserve me. Something like that. I know. I'll be stopping soon. Drag that picture in. It should pop in right when you do it, but if it doesn't, hit Command T.
No, like the border on circle and the
Stroke. Okay. All right. Now, a square picture like this with a round background and all this other stuff looks kind of dumb.
You can cut the edges.
Yeah. So we're gonna figure out how to play with some Photoshop stuff here. Before we do anything else, once you drag that picture in, once you hit enter, you have this thing right here. You see how it has this little indicator box here?
Yeah.
This means like you can't mess with it. But we want to mess with it. So you have to rasterize. Tap your neighbor on the shoulder. Say, hi, neighbor. Say, you have to rasterize it, neighbor. Rasterize. Right-click on it and choose Rasterize Layer. Rasterize Layer. If you don't rasterize it, someone's going to be like, wait, I can't do it. It's because you didn't rasterize it, neighbor. You have to rasterize it. So it had a little box here. When I right-click and choose Rasterize, that box went away, and now I can manipulate it. Okay? So we can do a couple things here. One fun thing to do is to get rid of this white. So I chose this picture on purpose because it's pretty easy. So if I use the magic wand tool, the magic wand is magic. Click this magic wand tool. Do you guys see it right up here? Right? Magic wand. Do you know what? It might be this. Sorry. If it's that, right click and choose magic wand. Sorry. So it looks like it's called the quick select, which is also a helpful tool. But right click and just choose magic wand. If you choose the magic wand and then you select the white area, it should do a pretty good job of selecting all of me, except it might get this little spot right here. But that's okay. For now, we're just going to let it happen. Next week, I'll show you how to fix that issue. And then press delete. If you press delete, it gets rid of it, unless you didn't rasterize it, and it'll say, like, cannot do to a blah, blah, blah image. So you got to rasterize. Okay? Right-click over the letters over here on the layer. You see how this picture's right here? Right-click on the letters and choose Rasterize. All right. It's still not awesome because the picture cuts me off here. But honestly, if you put this behind the layer, honestly, if you did that for the show, I'd be happy. But if you wanted to make it awesome, we can do another thing. So 2 tools above the magic wand, 2 tools above it, we have this marquee selection. Go ahead and choose elliptical marquee tool. And I could also select a circle around me so that you see how I'm cutting off this edge here. I'm sorry, you got to right click over the rectangular marquee tool. My bad. Yeah. So lots of tools have hidden tools underneath them. I forgot to show you that. So I can create this circle. Yeah, this one right here. Yeah. And if I hit delete, it deletes me. I want to do the opposite of that. So once I have it selected, I can right click and choose select inverse and then press delete. And now I have this like kind of like, it's like I'm on a coin. Pretty cool. So do the opposite. Right click and choose select inverse. Oh. Yeah. There you go. Now, wherever you are, some people didn't get text just right. Some people didn't get the picture just right. Don't worry. If the other thing I'm going to remind you of right now is, you see how I have a selection? If I want to get rid of that selection, I'm going to hit Command D for deselect. So I have 2 hotkeys right now. Command T for transform, to move stuff around. Command T does that. And then when I'm done, I'm going to hit enter. right? And then Command D gets rid of any sort of selection. Command D. Now, if you're lost, confused, a lot of you have a box and a lot of you have some text. Don't worry. This is your introduction. Next Wednesday, we're going to do a lot more. So don't worry, I'm going to help you next week. Okay? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to save this. Command S or File Save. Save it to your desktop and call it GFX for graphics. Call it Practice. Just practice. You're just learning. And you're going to hit OK. PSD file, Photoshop file. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead and save it to your desktop. Okay.